right. So this is our final session for today before we head to the banquet. And we have a lightning talk by Klaus Scheuermann. Klaus, can you hear us?
I can hear you very good.
Okay, very good. So I'm going to just plug you in, and then you can start your presentation.
Absolutely. Okay. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Maybe you give me a visual feedback. Okay, nice. Very good. Okay. So, Master Me, a sound engineer taps into open source coding. That's the title of my little lightning talk. Actually, my first lightning talk I've ever given. I'd really like to be there with you in France, but it was not possible this time. Maybe next year. I'm really looking forward to it. So, bonsoir. My name is Klaus Scheuermann. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a Berlin-based mastering engineer, mainly dedicated to jazz and electronic music. In the last 20 years, I've mastered around 250 to 300 albums for artists from all over the world. So why on earth you think is this person talking at a music computing conference? This talk is supposed to be two things. It's supposed to be a motivational talk to those who think they will never be able to code or contribute software or even release a plugin. That is exactly the point where I was 2 years ago. And second, this is also meant as a feedback to those who make this possible, probably some of you. So why coding? Me and coding became a thing when I realized how unfree I was as an engineer and how stupid tech giants think we are. And yes, we are. Make a big knob that looks vintage and I'm going to buy it. It took a long time and many revelations to discover not few of the tools on the market are a good part snake oil. 20 years of working in the audio industry made me feel like a puppet on the strings of software and hardware giants. Apple, Avid, UAD, you name it. I wanted to earn back my sense of purpose, sense of agency. And the first step was to understand how software is made. So I started learning Python with more or less success, not really, and very little impact, because I did not have a project that could carry me from general motivation to sense of purpose. And then came along projects. As the pandemic locked down life around the world, I joined a group of musicians, developers, and scientists who started the Karma-hosted quarantine sessions, a distributed network electroacoustic performance created via Jacktrip, Jitsi, and OBS. With the first lockdown in Germany, a new window to the world opened for me this way. Maybe some of you witnessed these bleepy, noisy concerts. As often the case in analog live shows, sound checks for the quarantine sessions were always great sounding, but our passion and enthusiasm during the shows pushed levels into quite uncomfortable regions. It was peaking and clipping and everything was super bad sounding. So as a mastering engineer, I basically knew what had to be done. I just did not now know how to do it. The truly transdisciplinary expertise in our band pointed me to the Faust programming language, and a very inspiring journey began. Bouncing between wikis, tutorials, and an amazing community of coders, I was soon able to build Master Me, a sound processor that I modeled closely after the mastering chain from my studio, which I had refined for many years now. So soon, Master Me was injected in the quarantine sessions audio path, and it worked. Unbelievable. So let me show you. Unfortunately, it still looks yet a little bit unappealing, but what it should actually do is sound great. So I'm gonna take you now to my screen. I hope that works. So a little feedback. Do you see my screen? Perfect. Nice. It's really a shame I can't hear you. It's would be nice. But so I'm going to I walk you through this a little bit. So what Master Me basically does is it's a certain chain of modules closely modeled after a mastering chain. You have to think of these kinds of chains like you have a device for like equalizing, you have a device for compression, you have a device for multiband compression, you have a device for leveling. Maybe not, I would do that by hand normally when mastering music. But as I wanted this to be an automatic device, we also need a leveling path. I'm going to show you quickly, take you through it. So unfortunately, this is a little bit bad to read, but the slider here in the top is the most important probably for using MasterMe. It is the target loudness in LUFS. So first I had to program with a lot of help from the community a LUFS metering in Faust. And this is basically used to drive a so-called leveler. This is this part here on the screen. And the leveler is, you can think of it as one fader that you basically take in your hand, and every time it gets a bit too loud, you pull it down a little bit, and every time it gets super low in volume, you take it up a little bit. And how much you can take it up is the max plus leveling limit and the max minus. So this is at 40 dB plus and 40 dB minus, quite extreme. And then you can tell the leveler how fast it should go. In this case, I will still need to transfer that into seconds or milliseconds. The noise gate in the beginning is not so important at the moment. I will refine that a little bit in the future. After that, it goes into a multi-band MS compressor, actually a 10-band MS compressor. I will show you later what that is. After that, it goes into a very soft knee compressor, and then it goes into a limiter. After that, into a brick wall limiter, and then we see the output in LUFS. So I will, I don't have a recording actually from a sound check from the quarantine sessions and the corresponding concert after it, but I can simulate that. So I have some music aligned, and if I take this fader on the left side, which actually is the level of the music, and I'm going to simulate that the music is going to be loud at some point, or somebody will actually play louder or very soft. So let's see if you can hear the music. Maybe you give me a visual feedback on that. Do you hear that? Okay, good. I think that's a yes. Nice. So basically what you can see is that already LUFS has been measured for the incoming signal. And the leveler says, okay, this is around -20. My target level or loudness is -18. It's not really readable, but it is at -18 at the moment, which is kind of a standard for broadcasting and streaming. And so it's already leveling a little bit the loudness of the music. So let's say everybody said, oh, this is nice, we can play at that level. And then in the concert, it would go up, let's say 10 dB. I'll try that. Don't be afraid, your ears won't burst. So you probably have noticed what happened. You don't hear that much of a difference in loudness because the leveling stage is taking down the music by 7 dB. And before it's actually at that right level, all the rest of the chain is kind of taking off the edges and taking care of limiting. So I'm going to go into the other direction and go back, let's say 20 dBs. And we're almost again at minus 18 roughly. So let's do it one more time, a bit more extreme, really fast. And the last demonstration with 25 dB up would have probably resulted in very bad audio conditions for you there in the room. So do you want me to explain the MS compressor, the multiband MS compressor, a little bit more in detail? Please raise your hands if you. Otherwise, okay, good. So this is a concept. I'm sorry I don't have any graphics for that, but this is a concept I am using a lot in mastering. It basically splits the signal via a filter bank into 10 frequency bands, stereo, and then it splits every band into mid and side signal. This is a technique that is very commonly used in mastering. So this is MS. I probably you all know what MS is. Actually, it's the other way around. It's first split into MS and then it goes into the filter bank. So we now have 10 frequency bands, which are each M and S. And these are then sent to a compressor that has a certain threshold and a certain ratio that I chose, which I find very, very nice and pleasing sound-wise. But every band has a different threshold as a target threshold. So basically, some frequencies that I don't really like that much or are not very pleasant to the ear, like maybe the 2.5 kilohertz or the 3.2 kilohertz, we don't really like them so much when we listen to music or speech for a longer time. So these thresholds are applied differently to the certain bands. Yeah, and then it's added and summed together in the end, and then you have a very smooth and softened signal that basically adapts a little bit to the curve that I chose behind the bands. Yeah, I think that's enough for the MS compressor. After that, then there's a knee compressor, which is super soft and basically does not do very much in this case. The limiter is one that I think that sounds good. It still lets some transients through, and yeah, it's kind of nice sounding in the way. It's also taken from the libraries of Faust. And after that, a brick wall limiter to take care of actual digital overloads. Okay. So I'm going quickly back to my screen here. Yeah, so in this configuration, MasterMe has taken care of levels in over 70 concerts that we have been doing now, and is used for other streaming events as well. Yeah, and yeah, with the help of the community, I cannot stress that enough. It has become a usable, stable tool for I guess, every streaming master bus I could imagine. So, and after making myself redundant as a mastering engineer, I could now start the next iteration, which is speech. When it works for music, why doesn't it work for speech? When the pandemic started, a lot of great content conferences were forced into the digital realm and sounded super bad. So everybody had a different microphone, different levels, and it was super hard to concentrate. And actually, you had to take care of levels yourself. Probably most of you experienced that. and it's really distracting from the concept. So I developed a little more on the same plugin and dedicated it a bit into to speech optimization, and because this seemed to appear to be having a benefit to society, and yeah, I got some funding for open source development by the German Ministry of Education and Research for that. So let's check that out. Oops. Okay. I have to share my screen again. And there it is. And now we actually see what's on the microphone channel. It's the same. So basically, this version of MasterMe, which is unfortunately called Sounds Good here, it's just a working title for the speech version, but it will be the same in the end. You see that I'm actually speaking through it. So what's happening here, it makes a consistent level for my voice. I hope you can understand me quite good. And you also see a very nice feature that is not often there in commercial levelers, at least for sometimes that was the fact. So if I would actually say nothing and be very quiet, conventional levelers would then just push up the gain into the maximum that they have. And then when I speak again, I will be extremely loud and it then goes back again. That is what the leveler gate is actually for. So you see every time I talk, the gain leveling can actually move. It's at 6 now. But when I do not speak and be quiet, it will not move. And this is kind of the most important feature, especially for speech, for leveling. Then you see that the MS multiband compressor is actually working pretty nicely. So if I had a voice that is very stressed on the syllables and S and T sounds, like yeah, you see what the MS compressor actually does. And this is a bit modeled to my taste, how the all over frequency spectrum of speech should be. I like it like that, but I think it works for most people. Probably we could do it in some further versions of this. We could actually draw the curve or something. And what happens if somebody really speaks very low all the time and it's super hard to understand? Well, of course, the leveler pulls that up. And it's very, I'm quite good, quite audible in your room, probably, if I speak very low. But what happens if I laugh very loud at some point? Like now, I won't bust your ears. Okay, so that would have probably killed your speakers or your ears without any kind of this processing. And therefore, I think this works pretty nice. So that was the speech demo. I'm going back to the camera. And yeah, I'm coming to my conclusion. Concluding this little talk, I would like to say thank you to the makers of Faust, of which I see some of you in the audience, and the whole Faust community. They were amazing. You made my journey possible, going from being a sound engineer to a sound engineer with a coding hobby, one that hopefully helps the open source world sound a little better. Thank you, merci beaucoup. and I would be happy to take your questions. Thank you so much. Merci.
Thank you, Klaus.
I can't hear you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Any questions? How complex was it to program in Faust?
You plugging me in again? Yeah.
How complex was it for you to program in Faust?
Oh, yeah. At first it was pretty complex, I must say. But yeah, once you kind of get a little bit into the philosophy that's behind it, I found it to be extremely fun, actually, because there's different ways in doing certain things, and yeah, some can be more beautiful than others, and it's kind of fun. It was a bit new to me to get in contact with a functional programming language at all, because everything I had done before was like, okay, you have a function for that, and then you just call it from any place in the program, actually. And this is, for me, still a very hard part in Faust, to actually route the signals to a point where I want to use them. So, but I can really encourage everybody. It's not that hard, and it's fun in the end.
Any other question?
Are you using what you show us professionally in your professional life right now, or it's still under development?
Are you using what you showed us, the thing you showed us in Faust professionally, or is it still under development?
It's still under development at the moment, but actually I was on a political conference in Berlin for the last 3 days. It's called the Republika, and even our chancellor was there, and we tested Master Me on the streaming bus of this event, 3 days long, and it basically worked without touching it. Yeah, so kind of really out there and working. Yeah.
Nice. Other questions? Other than Faust questions? Okay, well, thank you, Klaus.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
See you.
So, this is the end for today. I just want to give you some information about the banquet. So, the people who are cooking for the banquet, they're like countryside people, so they prepared a lot of food, just so you know. So, like, there is going to be a buffet for the aperitif. This is not the main course, okay? No, I'm just saying that, like, it was like, in case you wonder when you see it, like, that's not the main course, it's just, like, the starter, okay? Or it's, like, even before the starter, okay? So, like, don't eat everything, because, like, otherwise, like, there's going to be a lot of food left, okay? So, this is going to start at 6:30, and they brought 240 liters of beer. What? And it's It's not the crappy beer that we've been giving you for the past few days. It's actually microbrewery beer, and it's on draft. And there is wine, rosé, red, and white too. But the bottom line is, don't jump on the food right away, cause you want to keep some space. Okay, just okay. So have fun, guys. We'll meet outside at 6:30. In fact, you can probably already go. You can start. Yeah. Thank you.